Breaking news: INEC Judiciary exposed as Sam Amadi reveals what truly happened at the EDO election.
Have to take that as an existential crisis. How do you have electoral manager who will not by itself, EDO is a clear case, no pretense. It was an election that INEC itself rigged. So I'm surprised how well many people will be constructing alliance and everything and not paying attention to these very. Can we have a simple process of a manager of election who at least we can show that when we defeat the incumbent, the result will be clear. The second is the courts. The courts has been very clear in promoting the idea that once INEC rigs election, we will sanctify it. I don't know about today's outcome, but if you look at consistently from EDO, the court's jurisprudence has created the impression that you cannot upset a declared result. And what that creates a fait accompli, both on the politicians themselves and the electorates. Because the electorates see the results come out from the courts every day, reinforcing the idea that once INEC has declared you, no matter the procedure, the court will simply certify it. Kogi was a clear case where the tribunal itself ordered for INEC to provide evidence. INEC provided evidence. It was contested. The tribunal ruled in support of the evidence. They went to address, the tribunal said it was proper. Then judgment, the tribunal said we made a mistake. That evidence shouldn't be there. And the Supreme Court says, well, if there's no evidence, no result. So I want the political class to take seriously this issue of electoral process, because if we don't guarantee that we can upset incumbents, then there's no incentive to continue to come together to fight. That's very important.
Thank you.
And the final point about how democracy fails, therefore, is I think Lukman is right about party, but I'll put a caveat. You can have well-organized parties that will still not create development. The most organized institutions in this country today, I would say, is IPOB and Boko Haram. They are coherent, they are structured well, and they deliver terror. But, so I want to see political elites struggle with the question of development. It's not just about unity of the party and being organized. I agree with you. It creates stability. You have the president and the chairman of the party. The chairman of the party is strong. He's not going to the airport to escort the president to. But at the same time, I want to hear that the party understands the challenge of development and has created a development agenda. There are issues in this country we have not resolved. I want the list to resolve. First, the issue of nationality. There's still a crisis of who we are as a people. And a political party that wants to change the country must have a clarity as to how it wants to see the Nigerian citizen. That's number one. Religion and state, we still have several issues we've not made effort. So I want to say that whereas democracy is failing, what is failing most is statesmanship, the capacity of Nigerian elites to deliberate and craft consensus on development and use it to mobilize the people. Things are bad. In fact, I'm surprised if an incumbent this government wins election, because all over the world, even if you are doing well, after 2 cycles of election, one tragedy or other will make you lose election. So whenever you see a country where a party wins successive 2, 3, 4 elections, it tells a story that the electoral system is wrong. Because even if you are doing well, the people will find a reason for an alternative. Because if there's a crisis, terror, attack, poverty, failure of economy, is the incumbent who ought to go. If the incumbent wins, the electoral system is rigged.
All right.
So I want to conclude on the note that the people of Nigeria needs a coalition. But the coalition they want is a coalition built first on defining our problem and agreeing on a change agenda. We've seen all over the world that corruption is part of human nature, in the sense that democracies are struggling with corruption. But the difference is this. The difference between corruption and impunity, and corruption and a captured state. The theories of corruption would say that there was no corruption when we didn't have difference between private and public. Meaning, if there's no distinction between private and public, there will be no corruption. So, for example, public officers are expected to act in a particular way because there's a distinction between their private affairs and their public affairs. Is that also? When a country's rule-based system has not developed or is undermined in the way that people can't distinguish between public and private, you get a classical case of grand corruption. So, and that's why rule of law is important. And that rule of law, like important about citizen power, is demand and supply. I think somehow we have assumed that people in public office own the public office. So because they own it, we have outsourced to them, we have allowed them latitude to deal with whatever they want. So take, for example, the issue of River State. Of course, the Constitution gives the president the power to make declarations in emergencies. It's necessary. But the Constitution says you have to do that through a procedure. Is that also? And it says legislators have a right to approve, but you have provided for you how to approve it. Now you go and don't follow that procedure. It doesn't matter whether the logic is good. It might be that there's need for emergency or not. But that procedure is important because there's just the difference between your private feelings and the public good. If you don't follow that, that's corruption. So I think that the first thing about Nigerian corruption is that there's a sense in which, when I was in public office actually, I saw that, for example, the computer in the office is your own computer. Is that also? Where you go, you carry it. But it's not your computer, it's a government computer. The even staff belongs to you. You can decide to deal with whatever you like. I think we must see ourselves as operating at a very primitive level of accountability. And it's cultural, not in religious sense. Cultural, I mean, the norm which we ascribe seems to support this idea of owning the state. So I don't like to talk about corruption because it's not about who stole 5 naira. It proceeds from the concept of how should we relate to the state? How should I relate to a public office? Let me complicate this for you. A legislator goes to be a senator, and he doesn't know that his job is to interrogate, discuss, debate, review. So if it's an insult to review a president's communication, why should we say we should give him this? Why should we reject it? So it's a functionality.